Hey everyone, Goodforyou here. Due to my Spider-Punk levels of inconsistency,
I don't believe in consistency.
This guy is killing me.
me uploading went from a weekly occurrence to a pretty rare event. So, I wanted to at least try to take matters into my own hands and provide an alternate way for you guys to see what's happening without waiting for a video. In other words, I have an Instagram now, and I'll be posting some of the important Fakemon I've made first, then I'll move towards posting some designs that I've done recently. If it sounds like a good idea, then I might also post about the region itself, the trainers, the environment, the story, etc. Also, let me know if you think shorts or reels showing the design process behind some of my Fakemon would be a good idea, but for now, you can go and follow my account at Sumia region on Instagram. But with that out of the way, let's get into today's video. Pokemon is notorious for including creatures that help explore the depth and history of the Pokemon world. Some can be obscure and mysterious in origin, with fan theories often being the most logical, but unconfirmed explanations, such as Ditto being a failed clone, while some are known to have been involved in the creation of the Pokemon world, such as Unknown. However, the obscurities aren't just found in the Pokemon. The obscurities also extend to the trainers in the Pokemon world. The You Are Not the One girl from X and Y and N's true identity in Black and White. After all, including unsolved mysteries is crucial to the world building of all fantasy stories. However, mysteries alone can't drive the history of the Pokemon world. You need an explanation for the behavior of the environment in each region. Often, they're the legendaries who saved the people, changed the weather, or maybe even created the world of Pokemon. So, how does this fit into the Sumia region? Well, let me explain the region's history with thunderstorms. Sumia, since the creation of the region, has borne harsh thunderstorms. This is a result of the legendary quartet's migratory rotation around the region, dubbed the Cycle of Storms, but more about those for in another video. Due to this rotation, minor thunderstorms are a weekly frequency in every corner of the region, but due to an unknown anomaly, once every 12 years Sumia experiences what is known as a great thunderstorm that lasts anywhere from a month to a year of torrential downpour. Furthermore, these great thunderstorms are so powerful that under certain conditions, they can warp space and time itself. But this is only theoretical. No one has attempted it before. These thunderstorms and the legendaries play a sizable role in Sumia's unique ecology and history, and this inspired me to create some Fakemon that were related to these ideas. The first Fakemon is based on the protection against thunderstorms. In towns and cities around the world, lightning rods protect lightning damage by providing a direct path to the ground the electricity can take instead of the building itself. While in Sumia I'd imagine that they'd have an abundance of lightning rods, I'm not sure that they'd be able to handle the ferocity of the great thunderstorms. And that is, in essence, what this line is for. I looked at giraffes for inspiration here. We don't really have giraffes here in Australia, but neither does Johto's real-world equivalent of the Kansai region in Japan. My aim for this line was to have the first stage be a Pokemon that many of the children of the region can play with or keep as a household pet, with its evolution acting as the lightning rod to prevent much of the damage caused by the thunderstorms. Now, although this Pokemon is supposed to be appealing to kids that live in Sumia, I wanted it to look like it's trying to intimidate its opponents, and failing. I only now realize this while writing the scripts, but I accidentally gave it the same poses for Rigarath, and then its evolution the same pose as Girafarig. I added electric horns and a storm cloud tail and mane, as well as this electric pattern throughout its body. I really wanted to emphasize how it and its evolution redirect electricity into their body, with no harm of course, and the patterns on their legs are the pathways for the electricity to pass through on the way to the ground. As I coloured, you can see the electricity becoming redder as it gets closer to the ground, almost as if this Fakemon's absorbing the energy for itself and the electricity is losing the energy. I then tried a different method of shading and highlighting compared to the one that I usually do, which you can see in the comparison to other Fakemon I've made, and here it is. Hiraif, the Voltaic Charge Pokemon, an electric type. Hiraif can most commonly be seen in the wild frolicking during the thunderstorms of Sumia. Their horns render them unaffected by the danger of the lightning. Hiraif are commonly kept by trainers who prevent them from evolving due to its evolution's abnormal size. Now, its evolution is supposed to act as a living lightning rod in essence, but I also wanted to incorporate different electrical structures into the design. I added the same electrical patterns as I did with Hiraif, but instead I changed the shape of the tail to represent the glass insulators that you can see on power lines. If you caught it, I also made a reference to high voltage power lines with the bumps on the side of its long neck, which represent the protrusions that carry the wires. In Sumia, large settlements, such as cities, will often have multiple unused plots of land that are inhabited by these Pokemon so that they can absorb the copious amounts of electricity from the great thunderstorms. It's actually beneficial for them because this Pokemon's ability is pretty similar to Lightning Rod, so it doesn't get hurt from any of the lightning. I gave it an alternating red and white pattern along its neck to also reference cell and radio towers, and its legs and its feet are now much larger as well, so that a larger amount of electricity can reach the ground quicker. I shaded and highlighted in the same way as its pre-evolution. Camiraph, the Lightning Rod Pokemon, an electric type. Although Camiraph can be found in the wild, the extreme weather conditions required for it to evolve without a trainer are extremely unlikely to occur. Due to the harsh thunderstorms in Sumia, multiple Camiraph can be spotted in cities, as their size and massive horns can redirect otherwise disastrous lightning strikes. When Camiraph is hit by an electric move or absorbs one from the lightning strikes from a great thunderstorm, it becomes its charged form, with higher stats and the additional fire type. And yes, you read that right, it's over 32 meters tall, which is around about 105 feet. However, some in Sumia can be even larger than that. So due to the great thunderstorms and their overall cuteness, the people of Sumia have had a very reliant relationship with Haraif and Camiraph. As such, it's a pretty popular first partner for many. I'm also really pleased with how this line both aesthetically turned out and also helped connect the great thunderstorms to the way of life of the people in Sumia. It really helps the world building of the region. Now, the next two Fakemon are much more mysterious than the prevalent line from before. They each focus on the mystery surrounding the Storm Cycle Quartet, their origin and their prophesized meeting. The first one I briefly mentioned in my last video is so obscure that it didn't even have a purpose or inspiration when I created it. I just sort of drew it. But I've actually come up with a name, stats, and also some lore around it, which can help us dive into the origins of Sumia. You may believe that there is simply just the Storm Cycle Quartet that rules over Sumia, but there was another. A legendary being who refined the rough and strewn continents left by Regigigas, fertilizing soil and breathing life into the land, sea, and sky. This being was followed by the ancient people and Pokemon that roamed the world, but it was also trailed by millions of minuscule creatures that were guided by its will. When this legendary left the confines of this world, it created the Storm Cycle Quartet to watch over Sumia, and as it ascended, these millions of tiny Pokemon found refuge in the most remote parts of the region. These Pokemon are known as Zephyval, the ancient follower Pokemon, a dragon type. Zephyval have existed since ancient times, and are confirmed to be some of the earliest Pokemon to exist. In ancient times, they were said to have been guided by the legendary being that created Sumia, but since have inhabited some of the most remote areas of the region. Ironically, when I was working on Zephyval's name, I found myself looking at rods, a camera effect that's caused by moving insects in the frames of long exposure photographs, which, funnily enough, was exactly what someone recommended I look up on my last video, although I didn't end up using that for the name. This last Fakemon was designed for a region that a number of people I knew were putting together. The basic idea was that the region was set in the middle of the sea amongst a group of small islands, where the depths under the surface would be explored, all the way to the deepest parts of the ocean. For this project, I created a Fakemon based on underwater ruins, using the unused type combination of Ghost and Rock. But I liked this Fakemon so much that I actually decided to use it in Sumia to convey the consequences of the Great Thunderstorms. My choice of ruins was the temple, specifically an ancient Greek temple, because they have pediments at the top that can depict almost anything, including another pediment, and another pediment, and another pediment, and another. The idea that I had for this design was to have the Pokemon be a pillar from a full temple that was possessed after its destruction. I started by sketching out the general shape of the ruins that I wanted, including a broken part of the pediment for the whole temple. I added moss and some barnacles to the bottom, and also made the rounded sides of the top of the pillar a little bit flatter. I wanted the face to be coming from within the pillar, rather than on top of it. So I added cracks protruding from the eye, and ended up adding strings to its mouth, almost as if it accidentally drank some glowing superglue. The art on its pediment, I'll get to that in a moment. But for now, meet Perelic, the Abyssal Pokemon, a rock and ghost type. Perelic found in Sumia are said to be remnants of ancient structures that were possessed after their destruction in times past. Their pediments depict a part of a prophecy of mass destruction. Similar, however not the one that caused the destruction of the ancient civilization that they're from. But now you're probably wondering what the rest of the pediment has on it. Well, I did end up drawing another 4 forms of Perelic that make up the rest of the prophecy, but you can't see them just yet. I will, however, make sure they're all in another video about the lore of the region, and instead of showing you the forms today, I'll tell you how they came to be. The ancient people of Sumia descended from the very same followers of the legendary being. It is said that the land of Sumia was where the legendary ascended to the heavens, and that is evident in the abundance of Zephyval in the region. The ancient people of Sumia, in their unending reverence of the being, were blessed with the knowledge and the means to call upon it in times of grave danger. However, they also received a prophecy of destruction, one that foresaw a cataclysm fall upon the lands of Sumia. On the temples that they created across the region, they pictured this prophecy. Expecting peace until this calamity, the people hid the knowledge to call the legendary away, out of reach from anyone. But before they could recover it, an earthquake that lasted over a day ruptured throughout Sumia during a great thunderstorm, razing all of the ancient people's structures. Of the very few people that survived, only one knew how to acquire the knowledge to call the legendary. However, the one that knew where the means to call it resided was gone. Spirits of the ancient people of Sumia possessed the ruins of the temples, becoming the Pokemon that we now know as Perelic. So, what do you think? Would you ever come Giraffe on your team? Or perhaps a Perelic, if you can find one, of course. Thanks for tuning in to today's video, and be sure to follow the iForgo Instagram for some slightly more frequent uploads. But until next time, see ya.